Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of the People Progressing podcast. I'm really excited. I have Coach Steve Hagen on today. Steve and I got to meet each other last week. He's an ex-NFL Power 5 college football coach, and it's right up my alley. And we have a lot to talk about today about coaching, leadership, and so forth. And just really excited to have you on, Steve. And what I ask my guests all the time, the first question is, where did you grow up? What did you like to do as a kid? Some of the sports you played, people that influenced you and stuff that kind of get you to where you were.
I grew up in Southern California. I grew up in Thousand Oaks, and that was a while ago. I try to remember. And actually, I grew up as a ball boy for the Dallas Cowboys. And when I was 8 years old, all the way up until I graduated from college, I worked with the Dallas Cowboys. And I was just blessed. The Cowboys that came out to Thousand Oaks, California, that's where they put their training camp at Cal Lutheran.
Mm-hmm.
My dad worked at California Lutheran. And so they asked him, they actually hired him to make sure all the fields were in good shape. And then they said, "Can you get some ball boys?" And he said, "Yep, I got 4 boys myself." So I came from a family of 6, 2 girls and 4 boys. And so when I was 8 years old, I was in the locker room picking up towels and tape and sweeping floors and changing cleats out and doing whatever they asked me to do, and then setting up the fields for practice with, the cones and the yards markers and whatever they needed. So I lived for summer to come around to have the Cowboys come back, because those were the days when Roger Staubach,
Yeah,
Danny White, Bob Lilly, Bob Brunig, all those guys, real good football players, and Coach Landry. Tom Landry was the head coach. Gene Stallings was the defensive back coach. So I was around some real influential people growing up. I didn't know it. I just knew being around the Cowboys was a blast, and it was
yeah.
super fun for me. So I was there from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, every day, all summer long. And I was just around some really, really impressive people. And then when I got into high school, I started filming every practice. So I got to travel with the team to the games and be on the team plane, and which was another really super fun thing. And then when I got into college, I took on a different role as the assistant to the game operations manager. So I traveled with the team all the preseason games too. So, but just growing up, I played every sport. I played football, was my main sport. I just always loved football. Played basketball, ran track, and played soccer. So really my 2 main sports were football and soccer growing up. And then we lived close to the beach, so I'd love to go to the beach and do what people do at the beach too. So it was fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And what a great opportunity to be around some of those people, Tom Landry, Roger Staubach. I mean, you talk about your leadership journey starting early. It
Oh,
started real early for you with those guys.
well, and before training camp ever started out there, John Wooden would have his basketball camps
Oh,
at,
wow.
and so I went to the John Wooden basketball camps.
Oh, wow.
And that was fun too.
Yeah,
Coach
yeah.
Wooden would bring all the kids. There'd be like 300, 400 kids. I don't know how many, because I was one of them, right? So we would all come into the main gym at lunchtime. We'd play basketball all morning, go to lunch, and then after lunch, we'd all come in, and then he'd give his talk about basketball and being a good character kid and
Yeah.
person. And then we go play basketball all afternoon and night. And so, yeah, I was blessed. I didn't know I was around all those legends, those great,
Yeah.
great coaches, but it rubbed off.
That's amazing. Do you remember anything in specific that John Wooden said in any of those meetings that kind of stuck with you at all, or is that just too far long ago? Or
It was a long time ago, but I can remember him just, just the fundamentals of basketball. He just emphasized over and over and over the fundamentals of basketball. And then he'd say, um, be quick, do it in a hurry, but don't play faster than you are.
yeah,
Be quick, do it in a hurry, but don't be faster than you are, over and over and over. And basically what it meant was keep getting better and better and better, but sometimes you get out of control because you're trying to be somebody you're not, you know. So yeah, he just stressed the fundamentals. I mean, we dribbled that ball over and over and passed and passed and passed and passed. And then we'd shoot, but we didn't, you know, there weren't 3-point shots back then. It was all 2 points. So we were just shooting all over the spot. But he'd say, get to your spot and shoot it, get to your spot and shoot it, get to your spot and shoot it. And then, you know, he'd teach you how to square up and elbow up, keep everything in line. He broke the game down into fundamentals. You know?
Yeah, it was the little things for him. He always wanted to make sure the little things were done correctly.
And he told us a story about how he would always have his players. He'd teach his players how to tie their shoes, put their socks on, tie their shoes, and he'd say, and even at the camp, I never want you wearing wet socks, because, you know, we played outside. You know, we played wherever we could because there's 400 kids and they made courts in the parking lots.
Yeah,
and so. You know, we'd put on sweaty shirts or we'd play shirts and skins, you know, and so we're always putting on socks we wore. You know?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, don't put wet socks on. And then he'd say, I always teach my players how to tie their shoes correctly, and so they don't get blisters, and, you know, all that stuff.
That's so cool. Got me going already. So you played college football at Cal Lutheran. Take us through that experience, and what a great experience that was for you playing college football, and what that gave you moving into your coaching career.
Yeah, I was a quarterback in high school, and then when I got to college, I moved to receiver. You know, I wasn't a good enough quarterback at college level, so they moved me to receiver, and I was a good receiver. We played for national championship in college, and, you know, we were at the Division II level with, you know, we were playing against Sac State and all those different teams like San Luis Obispo and teams now that have moved up into 1AA. But, you know, the discipline of football, it's a little bit, I don't want to equate it to the military because no one's life is at stake, but the way it's broken down with, you know, groups and segments and all that. And that's how I've always seen, like right now I coach businesses, I coach businessmen, and how they how you should structure your companies and break them down into units and ask people to do things. That's just been my life. My whole life has been that. And I had a great college football coach, Bob Schaub, and he's still alive. He's probably about 95 now, I think. And just a really, really good man, and he understood the game well, and we played hard. He recruited it hard, so we got good players on our team. We'd get bounce backs from BYU and USC and UCLA. We'd get guys on our team that some of those teams didn't have, and you win with players that can play. And so, but with all that being said, he did a great job of coaching us and keeping that culture tight, because you're bringing guys in from all these other different spots. Right. And making them blend together and playing well, consistently well together. So
it's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, when you got done playing, you basically moved not right into coaching, but almost right into coaching. Give us a little shot on that journey too, because it's not easy to become an NFL coach. So what kind of journey was that to get to that?
It's not, and it's not easy to stay an NFL coach.
That's right.
That journey started, I was going to be a stockbroker. All I thought about in college was going to be a stockbroker. And I was thinking I was going to actually go from California. I wanted to go to New York City and be a stockbroker. That's kind of the competitive mindset. I thought, I was like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go do this at the highest level. Because I actually had a tryout in the USFL that came out. I didn't try out in the NFL. I wasn't good enough for that. So I had a tryout in the USFL, but I broke my knee, posterior cruciate ligament snapped. So that kind of ended my career, and I went back to Dallas, and I was doing my job at the Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys hired me back in Dallas. I moved back there. And then I was just like, you know what? I would rather coach than do my job. Well, they weren't hiring young coaches at that time, but one of the coaches there had called around, and he got a connection. He knew Mike White at the University of Illinois, in Champaign. And so he called me into his office and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about coaching up at the University of Illinois?" Because I had made it clear that's something that I'd like to do. And I was like, "Yeah, heck yeah, let's go." And so got an opportunity to do that. So that was fun. That's where it started. And then I just started coaching my way up the ladder, if you will, and worked my way up to coordinator. And then once again, another connection from when I was growing up in the NFL. A guy named Ronnie Hill gave me a call and said, "Would you like to interview for a job at the Cleveland Browns with Bruce Arians?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And so we made that connection, and I got that job at the Browns, and that was my first job in the NFL. And then you just keep working your way through the NFL and staying in there. And you gotta give them value. Whenever you're leading, you're a servant. I think of it this way: you're a servant that's giving value to whoever you're leading. If you're not giving value, it's hard for them to be around you. And then you probably get replaced eventually. Every leader does get replaced eventually, but you got to continue to give them value over and over and over and over. So you can work, because like in the NFL, it's different than coaching in college. College is kind of, I tell you what to do, we do it. We got a great relationship and you're doing it. But in the NFL, those guys are doing it for a living and they know how short it is.
Mm-hmm.
College football they're doing it to go make a living. And pro football, they're doing it for a living. And so they want to know how to extend this career for as long as they possibly can. And so when you can give them value on how to take care of their body in the off season or on their day off or after practice, and you can show them how to watch film that'll help benefit, just dial their eyes in, dial their ears in to listen to the right things and see the cues that their opponent is doing, so they can pick up some tendencies, so they can play that much faster. If they play that much faster on 15 plays in the game, they'll make 15 more plays than their opponent, and they'll get paid a lot more money. So it keeps them in the league. So then it just starts to, reciprocate itself like that.
No, it's such an interesting thing you said. You said, as a leader, you must constantly keep giving the people you lead value.
That's right.
The difference between the value that you had to give the college player and the pro player, was there much difference in terms of football value, one, and life value, two? And next question, does life value play into your value statement?
Oh, absolutely. And the difference is, there really is no difference. The difference is who you're giving it to. Some kids are more mature than others. Some kids are not going to hear it. Some kids are. The older they get, there's more at stake for them. So as you go through and you catch a freshman, a lot of those freshmen have the answers until they get hit in the teeth.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Coach, I didn't even see that guy." And I'm like, "I know. I've been telling you that's going to happen, but you're too young to understand it." So then that's a growing, that learning curve. But to say there's a difference in the value that you add, no, but there's a difference in the maturity of the receiver that takes it. Okay. And then what they take with that value, what they do with that value is on them. So I would tell guys this all the time, Joe. They say, "Coach, all I want to do is make the team." And I would say, you won't. If that's all you want to do is make the team, you won't. If you want to make the team better, you will, because you'll find ways to make the team better.
Yeah.
But if you just want to make the team, you won't. So for me to just get you to make the team, I can't say to a player, "Hey, I just want you to make the team. I just want you just got to make this team." No, I got to get you to make this team better, because once I get you to make this team better, you'll have a spot. You'll be happy. I'll be happy as a coach, but the team will be happiest because now we got a baller on this team that can help win championships. And that's what we're trying to do. So if all the leadership has that mindset of making that player better because the team comes first, then you got a chance to win the championship.
Oh,
Every business has a championship. They just don't define it the way
yeah.
we define it, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of my next thing I want to. Well, let's go into the life part of it. What is responsibility of a coach in terms of giving value to the life aspect of coaching? Not the football side of coaching, but the life part of coaching as a coach of people.
So I say this, you got to be able to ignore the noise to my guys all the time. Ignore the noise, ignore the noise, ignore the noise. Well, sometimes their life gets real noisy. They get a girlfriend, they get a girlfriend pregnant. They got, you know, they just got too many people around them. And some of the people aren't the right people. They get too many takers around them. And I keep it real simple. There's makers and takers in life. And there's makers and takers on every team. There's makers and takers in every business. And if you have too many takers around you, they take from you. They take your soul. They take your energy. They take your direction. They take your vision. They take. How does that happen? Well, you know, I got a lot of money now because I just got drafted. I got a lot of money. Well, now I got cousins that I haven't known for 12 years, and they want me to buy them a car. I'm going to buy my mom a car because she raised me. So I'm going to buy her a car, or I might even buy her a house because she raised me. But I can't buy her 3 houses. You know, I got to buy me a house. I got to buy my mom a house. I can't buy all my cousins a house. I can't buy all my people. And what happens is you get surrounded by all these takers, and you can't ignore the noise. And so life gets way out of balance. When life gets out of balance, you can't focus on your playbook. And your playbook is really your moneymaker. That's where you're making your money. Yeah. But you're so out of balance and distracted that you can't stay focused. So I've got to sit down with those guys and dial them in and say, listen, I love you, but you aren't loving yourself and your direction right now. You have too much going on. You know, you're hanging out with people that are smoking weed, or you're smoking weed, you know, whatever the case may be. And it's a distraction, and it's pulling from your best you. And if you want to do this, you got drafted because we saw your best you on film. We vetted you. We know who you are. Okay. And we drafted you because there was evidence of your best you on film. And now we're not getting that. And then I got to break it down. What's going on? And they'll say nothing. And then I got to keep, you know, just tell me more about what's happening. Well, you know, I just bought this house, and then my girlfriend moved in, and it's just, and so then it starts to unravel. And we go, okay, we got to get life in perspective here, because it's really messing up your game, and your game is what's paying your bills right now. Last time I checked, your girlfriend wasn't paying the bills.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. So Coach, let's go into kind of what you're doing now. So what you're doing now is you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it with businesses.
Yeah.
So tell us, you know, like, for example, what you just told us about coaching. I'm sitting there as I'm listening to you explain, you know, the makers and takers, and leadership leaders give value, and you have to give value as a leader. And I just don't want to make the team. I want to make the team better. How does that translate to business?
To me, business is a team.
Yeah.
Family's a team. You know, I have 4 children, 1 wife, 4 children. That's our team. And I want to make our team better. Well, how do I do that? I become consistently good at doing what I'm supposed to do. Bring in money, so, you know, give us a safe shelter to live in, provide transportation, all those, you know, the pillars of safety, right? As a father, protect, shelter, feed, right, clothe, okay? And I have to be consistently good at that. As a business leader, you have to be consistently good at leading. And you have to figure out what your team needs. What does your team need? And then you have to serve your team consistently well. Because if you don't, then you're not leading. what you're doing is you're hanging on and hoping something good happens. You're hanging on and hoping they deliver something that you haven't taught them, don't expect from them, have no idea what's going on, but they accidentally bring something to the table because they have their own initiative, and you benefit from it, when in all actuality you didn't even lead it. You were just hanging on and hoping something good happens. That's not consistently well done leadership. And if you look at great leaders in the sports world, I'm talking like Nick Saban, Coach K at Duke, who's just since retired. But those guys that are iconic, they do something consistently well, and they hold their people accountable to their jobs. And that's what I do now as a coach for leaders and CEOs is I ask them, what do you want and what are you willing to sacrifice to get what you want? So with all that being said, how are you going to hold your people accountable to what you want to get what you think you need in order for your vision to come to fruition? And then you got to be able to be strong enough as a leader to hold your people accountable. Some leaders are afraid of their people. Some fathers are afraid of their kids. Some coaches are afraid of their players.
That's it's so powerful. I'm trying to write notes down as you go. And I'm looking at this through the business eye. There's, in my opinion, there's no difference between how you lead people, whether it's athletic world, business world, family world, whatever. What you're saying is you just need to be consistently good at it. And the consistent part is, I think, the part that a lot of people have a hard time with sometimes.
People don't have enough grit.
Yeah, and I say this because they come into situations with a true purpose. I'm coming in to take over this program, or I'm coming in to take over this organization or this business, and I have all these grand ideas, and I have a purpose in mind of why I want to do this and how I want to do it and for what reason. And then, like you said, I always tell people, like, if you drew a circle and you put your purpose inside that circle, now all of a sudden the noise starts hitting, and I have these arrows coming at the circle, and that's the noise. All the noise is coming at you, trying to pop your purpose, get you out of it. In that whole piece that you're talking about, the grit to stay consistent, to stay in your purpose. I think it's kind of easier to define your purpose. I think it's harder to live it every day. Live your purpose and what you're doing because of all the noise that's coming at you.
You're absolutely right. So Nick Saban, one of the things that Coach Saban says, and he is so spot on, and I love listening to him. I got to work with Lou Holtz at Notre Dame when I was younger, and we were playing for national championships. And to me, Nick is this generation's Lou Holtz.
Right.
And, similar personality, similar characteristics, not identical. But what I love what Coach Saban says, we have to fight human nature every day.
Wow.
What is human nature? Human nature is, let's go sit on the couch. Let's sleep in a little bit. Let's leave work early. Let's, so if you can fight human nature every day, you got a chance. What I tell my guys all the time, Joe, if it doesn't help us win, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
So when you're asking me a question, I just come back at you and say I'm your CEO and you come into me and you're my direct report, and you ask me a question, I'll just say, do you think that's going to help us win? Is it going to help us win this contract? Is it going to help us, keep us on our vision and take us to our goal? Do you think it's going to help us win? And if you say yes, I'm going to say, how do you think it's going to help us win? And you got to be able to defend that. And if you stutter and stammer and all that, then I'm going to come back when you can define how it's going to help us win. Because if you can't define it, we can't do it. If you can't define it, we can't ever refine it. So we're not going to just hope something happens.
Right.
We got to have a structure that we can evaluate everything from. So if it doesn't help us win, we're not doing it. Otherwise, we'll be doing everything. We'll be doing everything all the time, and it'll be like we're chasing our tail. So if it helps us win, define it, and then we can do it, and then we can refine it because maybe it didn't go exactly how we wanted it to go, but now at least we know we're on the right track.
That's interesting because I've talked about this before, but I have when I was running my program, I came up with our baseball absolutes, and that's kind of my thing of how this is going to help us win. So for me, it all was revolved around my purpose as a coach. My purpose as a coach was to help my players get ready for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now. And were they going to be good husbands, good fathers, good workers, good employers, good business owners, good community members? How can I help them be a piece of that to help them get ready for that, to be successful in life? So we came up with these things called the baseball absolutes. And our first baseball absolute was we were going to be the best hustling team in the state.
There you go.
No one was going to out hustle us. And we're going to beat you on and off the field. We're going to do a hard 90 to first base. We're going to just hustle all the time. Well, people say, well, how does that fit your purpose of helping kids 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now? Well, how it's going to define us or define the win is, for me, the win is, okay, 20 years from now, that kid's calling me and saying, I just opened my own business. Okay, so how do I define, well, being the best hustling team in the state, how is that going to help that? Well, really, it's this main purpose. Because if my player ever came to work for you, he better be the best hustling worker that you have in your team, in your organization.
Yeah.
That's what it was built around. So it was going to help us win at present time. It was going to help us win games. I truly believe that, because when you played us, you knew we were coming after you. We're coming. We're going to keep competing all the way through. We're going to hustle and do that. But more importantly, is driving home the fact that if you do this thing, do it, you will have success. Doesn't matter if you're on the baseball field, football field, CEO of a company or whatever, we're going to out hustle you. And so when we define it, we were defining it that way. So that's so interesting you talk about that.
When you add these two words to it, it takes it up another notch. Consistently well.
Consistently well.
We out hustle people consistently well, because you'll have kids come back to you. You know this, Coach. They'll come back to you. I was hustling.
Yeah.
Compared to who? Compared to what? The last time you told me you were hustling?
Right. And that goes with
the last time you told me you were hustling, you were running, you were hauling, you were flying. And this time you told me you were hustling and you were going like half that speed.
Right.
So consistently well is consistently well.
Right.
Consistently really good. Not we're hustling. And I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, Coach.
No, I get what you're saying, because I got a way to answer that. How we worked on that consistently well was I called it, we had to CPC that now. So if we're going to be the best hustling team in the state and be consistently well at that, then we need to coach it, we need to practice it, and we need to challenge it.
There you go.
And the challenge part is in those three things, to me, was the most important one. If I could say there was the most important one, because they're all important.
Yeah.
Because if you don't challenge it, the light bulb's not going to go on.
That's right.
So people say, well, how do you practice being the best hustling team in the state? Or how do you coach it? Well, I actually in practice coached it. I said, this is how we're going to run off. This is how we're running on. When the center fielder's at the plate, the right fielder over here in the dugout, you better have his glove and hat. So if he gets out, then you can run it out to him, and we're going to keep hustling because we want to do it under a certain time. That's right. So that's how I would coach it. And then I had a drill and practice where we actually practiced running in and off the field.
Perfect.
And then I challenged it.
You added structure. So you defined that structure so you could coach that structure. So you could refine it to keep getting it better and better.
Right.
And better.
And then the challenge part came when I put them on a stopwatch.
Absolutely.
And if we don't make it under 13 seconds running on and off the field, what do you guys want to do? And I didn't call it punishment running. I called it pressure running. Okay, so I let them pick. You guys, okay, the infielders are going to run to the outfield fence. The outfielders are going to run to the backstop, and that's all we're going to do. But that's a pressure thing. So put pressure on them to challenge them.
Yeah.
And then we had to consistently CPC that. If we didn't coach it, practice it, challenge it on a consistent basis, then we wouldn't get consistently well at it.
That's exactly
so,
right.
God, this is so awesome. Got me going. I want to go into. Go ahead. Go ahead.
About this. Discipline is what you're talking about, right? Discipline.
Right.
My definition is long obedience in the same direction. Discipline.
Okay. Yeah,
long obedience in the same direction. So you're disciplining your team and you're looking for that long obedience. Long obedience in that example you just gave is our team gets off the field in 13 seconds.
Right.
Or we get to our positions in 13 seconds. That's obedience. That's what we're trying to get. Then we look like a disciplined team. If we have three guys walking out there and one guy forgets his glove in the dugout and another guy, that's not discipline. That's not long obedience. Long obedience is discipline, right? Long obedience in the same direction. The same direction is, what are we coaching? The CPC. This is what we're coaching. And so long obedience doesn't last for a game. It doesn't even last for 3 games. It lasts all season, and it lasts in the off season, and it lasts the next season. And as long as I'm here, this is long obedience.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's our structure. And then we can continue to refine it with our after action reports. You know what? You guys consistently do this well at 13 seconds. We're taking this down to 12 because you've done such a great job. Yeah. We're going to take this down to 12 seconds. And you will inspire them to be consistently better by doing that. Right. You won't have one kid go, I don't think we can do it in 12, coach. They'll be all like, heck yeah, coach, let's go.
Yeah. They'll want to do it.
Absolutely.
And then the people behind them coming up, it just becomes your culture. It just becomes something that
this is who we are. This is how we roll.
So I'm going to ask you this question. You said you were with Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
Playing for national championships. So how did you guys, as a coaching staff at Notre Dame, when you're playing for national championships, how did you continue this success and keep your trajectory this way, going up, progressing? How did you keep progressing? We play for a national championship where we win a national championship. We don't rest on our laurels. We want to keep getting better. What was some of the things that you guys talked about or did that kept you progressing on an upward trend, even after you won?
I already answered that question. The last one, it's that long obedience in the same.
Okay.
You get that structure, and then you do those after action reports, and you go, you know what? We're pretty good at 13 seconds. Let's take this down to 12. You want to win a national championship? We're going to take this thing all the way down to 10.
10, yeah.
And no one else in the country can do this at 10, just us. That's something. In football, it's like, we're going to out hit them. We're going to you can measure things, right? When you start out hitting a team. In baseball, if you just out hit them, you're never going to tackle anybody in baseball. But if you out hit the other team, you got a chance to win.
Right.
Football, you physically out hit the other team. You got a good chance to win. You know that. You were a defensive coordinator.
Right.
When you out hit, you start to set the table on who came to play.
Right.
And then the other team's like, whoa, who are these guys? And your standard is we out hit everybody.
Right.
We don't care who shows up.
No demand.
You set that standard, like you said. And as a leader, as a coach, you get what you tolerate, right? So if our team is not out hitting, or I'm the business leader, I'm the CEO, and we're not out producing, we're not out doing whatever, because every business is a people business. We're talking athletics primarily here. That's a people business. Every business is a people business. If you want to sell these classes, it takes people.
Yeah.
Sell these to make this product really well and do it really good. And then you got to have somebody out there selling it or marketing them somehow.
Right.
It takes people. Every business is a people business.
Right.
And so when you can inspire those people to be the best that they possibly can, whether you're using psychological tactics, coaching, whatever you want to call it, you're getting in and working alongside them. Sometimes you're above them, sometimes you're below them, helping them up. Sometimes you're alongside them, pulling them along. But essentially what you're doing is showing them a vision of who they can be. They're here now, but if you really want to be the best you can be, this is where I got to take you. I'm going to take you through some fire too. It's not going to feel good all the time. Coach Holtz used to say, medicine doesn't always taste good, but it's going to get you better. So this drill may taste like bad medicine, but it's going to get you better. And, we do one-on-one hitting and whatever it was, whatever we needed. He had an acronym for WIN. The word WIN, W-I-N, is what's important now. So every day, every second of every day was all about WIN, what's important now. And if you think about that, and I talk to business leaders about that, what's important now? We're dwelling on the past. Some of this stuff in the past happened we can't fix. We can fix now, which may help us in the future. But some of that stuff we can't fix. We got to live with it. But what can we do with it? We can do an after action report and make sure it doesn't happen again in the future. So what's important right now? So that keeps you on that trajectory of long obedience, that discipline of long obedience, because this, we get what we tolerate. Whatever you tolerate, essentially you're condoning. And whatever you condone, you're endorsing. So if we tolerate this, eventually we're endorsing it for somebody else that's coming into the program. If we tolerate guys not touching the line or coming in 15 seconds instead of 13 seconds, these new freshmen that come in go, well, Johnny comes in at 15 seconds and the coaches don't say anything. So what the heck? Maybe I'll do it. So whatever you tolerate, you eventually end up condoning. And if you're a business leader, you tolerate people coming in late, you tolerate things that you wouldn't want to tolerate, but you do, you just tolerate, you get more of it. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's your fault as the leader.
Right.
Because you let it go.
Right.
You want to fix the team, you fix yourself first.
Right. Look in the mirror.
That's right.
So that, everything that we've talked about was kind of more based on your and I's athletic coaching background, so forth. But everything that we just talked about can go directly into the business realm. So the question I asked you, when you guys were winning championships with Lou Holtz, how did you keep progressing? How did you keep getting better after you won and not get complacent? Would be the same question I would ask a business leader. Hey, you guys are having the best profitable year you've ever had. How are you going to keep progressing from that? How are you going to keep getting better from that? And it's no different than the question I ask about how are you going to get better as your football team? How are you going to get better as a baseball team? Or how are you going to get better as a business? It's all about that longevity thing part of your time.
And you know what? We have to evaluate every single person independently. And we do.
Yeah.
We evaluate them and we make sure that if it doesn't help us win, we're not going to do it. That's one of the first things as a leader. If it doesn't help us win, if she doesn't help us win, if he doesn't help us win, we can't go forward. We love you. We want the best for you, but it just may not be here with us because we're building a championship quality team here. And we've tried to help you with this concept of, your habits create your future. And your habits are showing up too late, too often. And we can't have that.
Yeah.
That may work somewhere else, and it may work well somewhere else, but we just don't tolerate that here. And this is our structure. This is how we roll. And then you evaluate from there. You've got to continually, everything has to be defined. Your vision has to be defined. The roles have to be defined. Who you put in those roles have to be defined. Wide receivers don't play O-line. Quarterbacks don't play DB. Everybody has a position. And then you expect them to do that position consistently well under the structure and the definition of that vision for that position. The vision for a CEO, you have to do that consistently well to keep this position, or we'll go find a different CEO. It's super simple.
Yeah.
People get distracted because they let all the noise come in.
Yeah.
And then noise creates pressure. people don't understand noise creates pressure. And then they have their personal life. It gets too noisy. It creates pressure.
Yeah. And how do you hold all that together? How do you stay in that purpose? Just unbelievable things. And God, we've gone 45 minutes already, but what your three things, your three weapons, are what? So the first one, what's your weapon? The second one is compete, defeat, and repeat. And then the third one is the 5 pursuits. And do you have these on your website? People can look at them and stuff.
I'm going to get into all that.
But I know if we don't have much time, if you can just kind of talk about them just real quick to give people an idea of where you're coming from and some of the things that you would help people with as a Vistage chair, as a person that's going into work with a business and so forth, where you're kind of coming from.
Okay. What's your weapon is what do you do well? What do you do well? Okay. My weapon was this right here. I learned everything about this game, just like you had a baseball in your hand. I considered this my weapon. I knew every rule. And when they changed the rules, I knew those rules. I studied the fundamentals of how to handle this ball, how to throw this ball, how to protect this ball, how to move this ball. This was my weapon. And all the leadership tools were developed through this. Some people's weapon is their skill on how they say they love people, or some people say it's a microphone. And I invented this microphone. This is my weapon. This is what I use to move my business forward, whatever. Everybody's weapon's a little bit different. My weapon was this football, and I used this to grow me as a man and as a leader and as a coach, as a father. A lot of lessons I learned by being around this game right here, this game. So that was my weapon, to keep it simple. I mean, it goes deeper than that.
Right.
Compete, go through that whole process. Defeat, repeat. Keep getting better and better and better at what you do. Don't flinch, never flinch. You just keep getting better, and that keeps you on that trajectory. When you start flinching, you start going this way, sideways, all over, all the noise gets in, you start flinching. You aren't your best self when you flinch. You're just not. And Coach Holtz used to say that all the time. We're going to be playing in front of 85,000 people when we walk out that tunnel, man. And there's going to be about 85 million watching you on TV. When those lights go on, those bleachers are full, don't ever flinch. You walk into the fist and you don't ever flinch. You know what it feels like to get hit. You know what it feels like to hit. It's time to go. And you start to train those men to become lions, and you bring that lion out, and you bring that competitor out, and you train that lion, and you train them to how to keep that lion tame and how to let that lion loose. And when they do, it's vicious. And when they can tame it, it's humble, and it's well contained. And when you can get that balance, you got yourself a really good football team. And you got yourself a great competitive environment. When we're in business and we need a contract signed and we're competing for a sale, there's a lion that's in you that says, no, well, I'm getting this. I'm not leaving this room until this is closed. That lion. And then when you got it all signed and everything, that lion comes back in and it's very humble. Thank you very much for your business. I really appreciate that. Look forward to working with you in the future. You got to be able to do all that. That's what we say, compete, and then you got to repeat. You got to go over, because the next contest is even bigger, because it's taking us closer to our vision. And if we're not at our vision, we're still competing. After we win the Super Bowl, let's take a break and celebrate. We're not competing right now for another 4 days. Then we
get after it again.
And then the 5 pursuits. This is something I put together from all the years that I've coached. Some of it came from Notre Dame. Some of it came from Butch Davis. Some of it came from Chris Alt. Some of it came from just me putting it all together. But it is to me, this is what makes great teams, great businesses, great families. And the 5 pursuits, there's signals in every athletic team. There's signals in a family. I can do this to my daughter. I can just do this. It started with this: I love you, to my daughter when she was like 3 years old on stage singing in preschool. I'd see her up there and I'd go like, and she knew I love you. She's 25 right now, and I can just look at her and go, some people do that, some people do whatever they do. So I gave my team 5 things when I was a head coach or a special teams coach. 5 signals. This is the team comes first. They're all on your hand, so it keeps it really simple. The team comes first, and they're all connected. Everybody's connected. If you don't think you're connected to the punter, wait till he shanks one.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't think you're connected to the kicker, wait till he misses the winning field goal. If you don't think you're connected to the left corner, wait till he falls down and they throw a touchdown over his head. We're all connected all the time. Understand what's important now. What's important now? That's an acronym for WIN. That keeps us focused on the present, not the past, not what's going to happen in the future. If we focus on the present, our future will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
If we focus on the past, we may not get to our future.
Yeah.
We focus on what's important right now. 4th thing is everybody owns your actions. You own your actions. Don't point the finger. Remember, the team comes first. We're all connected. So you own your actions. When you don't own your actions, you disconnect from your teammates. You disconnect from your business. You disconnect from the team. Everybody own your actions, including the leader. The leader has got to come in and apologize sometimes and say, hey, you know what? I did a poor job explaining this to you. I'm going to get this corrected. Instead of, you should have heard what I said, when in all actuality, he never said it.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's pointing a finger instead of owning his actions. And he doesn't care about the team. He cares about himself because he's protecting himself, because he knows he made a mistake. He truly knows he made a mistake, but he's covering his tail because he doesn't want to own his actions. And the 5th thing is never flinch. And when you're in those situations where you've got to come out as the leader and say, hey, you know what? That was my fault, but I'm going to get it corrected now. You can't flinch in that. You can't think, oh, well, they're going to think of me weak. They're going to think of me this. You're going to think of me. You know what they're going to think of you? You have a little bit more integrity than we ever thought,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not flinching. Plus, when you walk out of that tunnel and you see that other team and they're a little bit bigger and they look a little bit faster, you can't turn around and go back. No, this game's on national TV and we're playing now and it's going to be kicked off in about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So you don't flinch. I was in the Catholics versus convicts whole fun deal.
Wow, that was crazy. I was just watching that on E60 the other night.
I was in it. You don't flinch in that.
Yeah.
So the team comes first. Don't ever forget that. I don't care if you're running a business. I don't care if you're a family. If I'm the father, this team comes first. Not me, not your mom, not you, Sally. The team, the family. If you're a business leader, the business comes first. Steve Jobs, Apple comes first, not Steve Jobs, Apple. I know you started it. I know you invented it, but really, Apple comes first, not Steve. That's just how it is. But do know this, you're all connected all the time. In my family, my daughter gets injured in a car accident, we're all connected all the time. We run to the rescue, whatever the case may be. In business, something happens, something goes awry, maybe a contract doesn't get signed, or whatever happens. We're all connected. What can we do better the next time? Understand what's important now. Everybody own your actions, and none of us flinch, and we're all going to be good because the team comes first. When they understand this concept of these 5 principles, I call them pursuits, because some people say value. You know what you do with something valuable? Say you think these iPod things are super valuable. You put them in a drawer and you hide them. You know what you do in pursuits, coach? You're a defensive coordinator. You know what you did with your pursuits? You hung them up on the board and you made sure everybody saw them every single day.
Yeah.
And we're going after them.
You want to keep getting after it. Yeah.
And we're getting after it. And we're going to go run to the ball, and we're going to go knock that ball loose, and we're going to go take that ball away. And we're going to pursue, and we're going to pursue, and we're going to hunt. And we're going to go get that.
Yeah.
There's a difference between what you value and what you pursue. We're constantly chasing. We're constantly chasing. So that's the 5 pursuits of a great team, a great family, and a great business.
Yeah, I love it.
People understand that. Coaching goes from here to about right here. Now, there's a lot of elements. I'll send you my ebook about it, because there's a lot of in between the lines. There's more to it than that, because there's self-evaluation and opponent evaluation, and there's so much.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
Yeah. Please send me that ebook as soon as you can. I would love to keep going through that, because there's so many similarities to how you and I coached. It's when I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm like, that's what we did, but we called it this, or it's very interesting.
Hey, can I interrupt you right there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the language of every business.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the language of every team. You have a language within your family that's outside of my family's language.
Right. Yeah.
We all speak English, but there's something like, this is part of my family's language.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay? I went to coach in Italy. There's Italian, and then there's English, American, and then there's football. Right. So we really had like 3 languages going here. But I said, we need one for this team to be successful. And so then we got that down. And when we all understand the same language, it's just like saying we're all on the same page. Well, that means we're all connected all the time. Yeah. Nothing is confusing us at all.
It's awesome. All right. 3 questions and we'll be done. 3 quick ones. My book is called The 3 Ps, Finding Your Purpose, Perspective, and Passion. So I ask every guest on my podcast those 3 questions. What is your purpose in life?
My purpose in life is, to be a great father, honestly.
What is your passion in life?
My passion is to make sure that all my children understand who Jesus Christ is.
Awesome.
Because I know this, when they know who Christ is, they're going to have a great perspective.
Yeah.
They'll find their own passion. They're going to find their own vision through him.
Yeah.
And that will then in turn give them purpose. My purpose is to make sure my children know who Jesus Christ is. My purpose when I was coaching also was to make sure my players knew who Christ was. Now, in a state school, that wasn't as easy. It was a little bit bigger of a challenge, but they knew who I was. And so they could come and ask me, and I'd tell them, just like you asked me.
Yeah.
And I'd say, I want you to know who Christ is.
And now,
why? Because it's going to lead you to your purpose, and it's going to give you a passion.
Right. So powerful. Gosh, that's awesome. And then your perspective. I know it's positive because everything you say is so positive. But what's a perspective that I think your perspective holds your purpose and passion together. I think that's the glue that holds it together, holds you in your purpose and passion. When something bad happens in your life, sometimes we lose our perspective. And when we lose our perspective, we kind of get out of our purpose and passion. So what is that one thing, that one perspective that you have that kind of keeps you in your purpose and passion?
That's how the 5 pursuits came about for me.
Okay.
5 pursuits is, it's not about me. One of my favorite quotes of all time, Joe, is, it's not about you, Moses. It's about the power of God through you.
Yeah.
So it's not about you, Steve. It's not about you, Coach. It's not about you, Joe. It's about the power of God through you. So the team comes first. Those 5 pursuits, we're all connected. I am directly connected to my wife. I am directly connected to my 4 children. Directly connected to them. What happens to them happens to me. I understand what's important right now. If one of my kids, something happens to them, I'm there. I'm going. I don't care what else I got going in life. I'm going because I understand that we are totally connected in my team. This is my perspective on the whole thing. And I'm going to own my actions because I'm going to hold myself accountable because I want to do things consistently well. I want to be disciplined and have that long obedience. I'm not doing this part-time. I'm not doing this because they pay me. This is who I am trying to be and working on getting better at it consistently well all the time. And I'm going to own my actions and I'm not going to flinch because it's going to get crazy. I mean, you could have asked me something and I could have given you a different answer than what I'm truly passionate about. I'm passionate about leading. Now it's leading men to Christ because I think our men in our country are weak. And I think they're following weak leaders. Honestly, I feel that way. And so we're going to end up with a weak, defeated country if we don't start training our men, training the lion to come up in our men and taming that lion and training that lion. Train that lion to be a warrior when it's supposed to be a warrior and humble when it's supposed to be humble.
Love it.
That's my whole perspective is what do I want and what am I willing to sacrifice to get what I want? I'm not ashamed of the gospel. I was at one time. I didn't even know. First of all, I didn't really know what it was. Then I learned it, and then I was kind of like, I don't know if I can even bring it up, or should I bring it up, or should I? And then I'm like, you know what? If I'm ashamed of him here now, I get to the end, and then he's ashamed of me.
Right.
I gave you a great adventure. What did you do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, well, I was, and he'll be like,
yeah,
nice. Let's try. You know,
unbelievable stuff. This is really powerful. I know I say that a lot, but I just get so pumped up listening to this stuff. It gets me inspired. It keeps me going. I said 3. I got one more. You and I are both.
I love it.
You and I are both Vistage chairs.
That's right.
And it's been a journey, a wonderful journey for us in the terms of we get to lead teams again. We get to try to help people grow and get better and understand things from a different perspective and so forth. What's something that really gives you satisfaction or joy in being a Vistage chair?
Leading, servant leadership. Show people what a servant leader can look like.
Yeah.
And be a good mentor, be a good guide. I'm 61. I'm in the third quarter of, if you will, of a game. And so I'm past halftime. I'm not going to live to 122.
Right.
So I have, we heard a little bit about the history of how I grew up and all that and how I grew up and who I grew up around, I'm at a point, it's time to give back. I've been given, but I want to give back to, there's men my age that need it. Honestly, there's women my age that need it, that are leading others. And if I can add some perspective to it and add some passion to it, like you say, then it'll add more purpose to what they're trying to do, and then they have an ally in the fight. And that's what we need. They have a trainer, they have a coach, they have an ally, they have a friend, they have a mentor.
And they also have the other.
That's who I want on my team. And you know what? If you're not going to help us win, I don't really have a lot of time for you.
Right. And that's what the other people in the group give each other as well. That's what's so powerful about our Vistage group is, what I've noticed. I'm a little bit ahead in our journey on this, but the team helping the team, members of the team helping each other. When I'm watching my team, my Vistage team work like that, where one team member is helping another team member from one industry to a completely opposite industry. But like you said, it's all about that leadership. It's all about, making decisions and all that. And they're helping each other, guiding each other, supporting each other, empathizing with each other. It is such a powerful, beautiful thing to have. And there's so many leaders out there who are kind of lonely at the top right now that don't have that And that's kind of what the Vistage group gives us. And the Vistage teams, you and I call them teams, gives these people, and the power of that is just amazing to watch. It's a lot of fun. So Steve, I know you have 2 books. How can people get a hold of you? How can people get your books? I know you have a website. How can we direct people to those things?
I don't know how you put it in the description, but my website is just coachhagen.com. You can email me there anytime. I have 2 books, Another Rep and Coach 'em Up. They can, I can't remember exactly, because most people just email me and ask me, Coach, can I get 10 books? Can I get 100 books? I just sold 150 of them to a mortgage company a little while ago. So that's probably the best way, because I don't have them on Amazon right now. Probably need to. Thanks.
Yeah, I just looked on Amazon. They weren't on there. I was good. So.
My PayPal thing got all jacked up on there because whatever. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, have them email me.
Yeah, and on your
at coachhagen.com. Steve at coachhagen.com.
And I'm gonna
I speak to companies. I speak to leaders all the time. I speak to teams. I love speaking to teams.
Yeah, me too. I do too.
Yeah.
So, and you can get some shirts that you have on there. You have a blog on your website.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
Podcast, blog.
Yeah, it's really a powerful tool for leaders. So I want to direct people to that. So
thank you. They can sign up. I also send out a rep a day, and it's called Another Rep, and they can get a rep a day if they'd like to. I just need your email, and it's free. There's no obligation. You get a rep a day. Comes out in the morning. It's about 1 sentence long. It's got a little Bible verse connected to it usually. And it's just a leadership thing. Who's the best leader on the planet? Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah.
All these other leadership books, you can go get a stack of these books like this. All these leadership books, all derivatives of the Bible.
Yeah. 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 Well, hey, this has been amazing. I know you got to get going. You have another meeting. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
it's powerful hour here that can really make people think and reflect on their own leadership journey and where they're at with it, and how to get better and how to keep proving and how to keep, like this podcast, how do you keep progressing? So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. This is just a start for you and I. We're in this Vistage journey together now. And yeah, that's what we're doing. So I just appreciate you coming on. Thanks, Coach.
Oh, thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. And like you said, this is the start of a great friendship. So keep repping. Let's go.
Oh, I love it. Hey, and thank you for listening to this week's edition of the People Progressing Podcast, another powerful edition with Coach. And you can get a hold of me through coachjoewhite97@gmail.com. Come speak and do whatever. I love helping with that stuff too. So I thank you for coming on, Coach, and everyone, please keep progressing. Have a great day.